Is my screen is my screen visible?
Yes, and audible. Your voice is also audible.
So, good afternoon, everyone. So, after a very long time, we are finally back with the virtual reality part. So, in the previous uh, presentation, I explained and we discussed about the topics related to AR qualities. And today we'll be talking about virtual reality. So, let's begin it. So let's start with the introduction part related to virtual reality. So what virtual reality exactly means? So virtual reality places the viewer inside a moment or a place made possible by visual and sound technology that makes the brain into believing it is somewhere else. It is an experience of a world that does not exist, like sound school, right? But virtual reality tricks one's mind using computer that allows one to experience and more instantly it interacts with the 3D world. So, what exactly virtual reality means? So, virtual reality, as in the beginning part, uh, uh, in the presentation where I discussed about topics related to AR and VR, there was a point which I mentioned over there that was related to virtual reality and augmented reality. That in augmented reality, it is a mixture of the real world as well as the artificial world. But virtual reality is a complete environment which is artificially created, and there is nothing that is related with the real world existence. And moreover, the virtual reality is also a recently trending topic because nowadays almost each and every technology that is available to the every user living in this universe, that is the earth, everyone wants to live in a virtual reality space, and that is the reason why several electronic devices like VR headsets are even made nowadays by several companies to make people interact with virtual reality technology and to make a virtual reality world come into existence for future references and uses. So, what is virtual reality? So, virtual reality is a technology that creates a simulated environment, allowing users to feel like they are in a different place or world. VR puts you inside a computer generated world that feels real. It does this by using special equipment that cover your eyes and sometimes your ears, called VR headsets. Virtual reality is creating a believable interactive 3D environment that you can explore and interact with, making you feel like you are in the really there. So for example of this particular statement, many of us might have heard about a TV channel that is Star Sports. So in the year 2023, Sports released a metaverse, a virtual reality platform for its users who used to watch sports online using the OTT apps. So in that particular app, there was uh, in that particular app, there is a feature where the user can create his or her avatar and can experience the real time action of the sport, that is the cricket, being played and sitting in a stadium. Like there was a virtually created stadium, and inside that the avatar of a individual was allowed to seat himself in that virtual world, and by the help of that the user can experience the cricket match. So by the help of that, we come to know that in virtual reality, a user tries to put himself or herself into a virtual world, but it makes that person feel that he's sitting in the real world at that particular time. So this particular technology is very helpful not only in the field of sports, but also it is useful in the field of health, education, and moreover it reduces the workload of an individual. Like by the help of virtual reality, traveling can be reduced, and by the help of reduction in the traveling, even it can affect the global warming as well, because when people will use this particular technology, less people will come out, as a result of which pollution will also decrease. So in future, virtual reality can have a uh, hype, which I think currently this particular technology is facing. So in upcoming 2 to 3 years, this technology will have a hype, which will be very great for the users who are using this. So now, on the basis of the virtual reality concept, let's discuss about the types of virtual reality. So basically, virtual reality is classified into three types, that is immersive, semi-immersive, and non-immersive. So immersive VR system, what does this mean? So immersive VR system is coolest to the virtual environment. It makes us experience the highest level of immersion. This VR system is expensive than others. It provides the coolest feeling of being in virtual world. Tools and gadgets used in the systems are advanced and not so common to use. So in the beginning of this presentation, I mentioned an example that was related to metaverse of Star Sports. So the metaverse system of Star Sports comes under this immersive VR technology. Because the difference in this immersive VR system is that it is a virtually created world, but the equipments that the user or the person who has created that virtual world is using will be very advanced, and it will be very cost highly expensive, because uh, the equipments which are making that a virtual world come into existence need are very expensive. That's the reason why immersive VR system is one of the expensive VR system currently being available. Now, what is semi-immersive VR system? Semi-immersive VR system also make us to experience a high level of immersion, but the tools and gadgets are not so advanced and costly. Tools and gadgets used in these systems are common to use and utilize physical modes. So under semi-immersive VR system, we can take an example of a mobile game that we usually play, but with the help of a VR headset. If we use that VR headset to play a game, then that particular thing comes under the semi-immersive VR technology, because it is also budget friendly for an individual, because everyone has a smartphone, and nowadays the VR headsets are even available in the market that cost near about I think 5,000 6,000 rupees. So a person can easily afford that. So this comes under the semi-immersive part. Then what is non-immersive VR system? So non-immersive VR system is the least immersive and the least immersive VR system. It is not expensive to use this system. It is also known as desktop VR system, because the gadgets used are limited to glassless and a display monitor, and it uses the least expensive components. So in a non-immersive VR system, we come to know about the example which best suits this non-immersive VR system is that game that I previously mentioned in the first two presentation which I gave. That was the Pokemon Go game. So in Pokemon Go game, there were two versions. That one was related to augmented reality, and the other one was related to virtual reality. So in virtual reality concept, non-immersive VR system was used, because in that particular game, artificial map was being created, where there were several plants and people were roaming around, and the person has to catch the Pokemon. So that particular non-immersive system was not using a very expensive gadgets to make that virtual world to come into existence. So that particular game comes under the non-immersive VR system. So now input and output devices that were and the software, that is the components what are required in a virtual reality. So input devices and VR are the tools for the user to interact with the virtual world. Using input devices, the users communicate with the computer. So the best example for input devices is a 3D mouse. So a 3D mouse is a type of a mouse that is being used to create a better and a more interactive virtual world. If you might have seen that video in which Akash Ambani released that VR headset, when he was releasing that particular VR headset made by Jio, there was a short display by which the Akash Ambani explained about how the people can experience that VR headset with the help of that video. There was a 3D mouse type of system where the person has to click on one of the slideshow in that headset, and on the basis of that several types of apps and themes would be opening, and by on the basis of that the person can select. So that was the part related to the input devices. Now for the output devices, is used to represent the virtual world and its effect to the users. It generates the feeling of immersion to the users, like LCD shuttle glasses, that is the VR headset, because currently the VR headsets that are available in the market are using LCD shuttler glasses, because these glasses are much more less expensive as compared to the LED one. Now for the software part, software has a key role in VR. It is used for handling inputs and output devices, data analysis, and generate feedback. Software control and synchronize the whole environment. So, in virtual reality concepts, several software devices are being used. But the most important concept which a person has to remember while using virtual reality is that in virtual reality, software part is one of the important thing, but the other important thing is related to 3D modeling. So without 3D model, our virtual reality world cannot exist in. So I think the portion related to the software part must be divided into two parts. That is the uh, part related to the backend portion of the 3D models and the one related to the 3D modelings. Now, here are some frequently asked questions related to virtual reality. So, what is VR? And we have to give an example. So, a virtual reality is a technology that creates a simulated environment, making you feel like you are in a different place of world. For example, VR is a pla- for example of VR is playing a video game with a VR headset, where you can look around and interact with a 3D world as if you are actually inside the game. So I gave the example related to that Star Sports, where I mentioned that that particular metaverse app of Star Sports provided a feature where a person can say experience the real time action by sitting inside a cricket stadium. So that was the example of VR. So what is VR used for today? That is why people should use VR, and currently where this particular technology is being used. So VR is used in many things nowadays. That is, first is gaming. Obviously, I mean that is the first example which was mentioned in the above FAQ as well. The second one is the education part. Like this particular education point that which is being mentioned here, this particular point is really helping the students, because by the help of virtual reality, the student can understand a particular topic much better as compared to teaching orally in a class, because everyone wants to explore things in a much interactive and attractive manner. While if a person is studying by the help of oral skills, then I think that won't help that person a lot. And the third one is the training, that is helping professional pilots and doctors to practice their skills. And there is one more point which is not being mentioned in this particular PPT, that is related to health, because several types of um, tests that are related to human bodies are also being conducted with the help of virtual reality world. Now, what are the skills that are necessary for the virtual reality developers? The first one is the programming language and the hardware knowledge. So a VR developer has to have the knowledge or related to both the programming languages and the hardware knowledge as well. So now many of us might be thinking that what kind of programming knowledge a virtual reality creator must be having. So till the information I have now is that so far I think C sharp is the one of the programming language that a user must learn in order to make a particular 3D model work, because obviously 3D models are even available in the online stores as well. Although several people create 3D models, but 3D models are even available in the uh, Google as well. But the entire backend portion of this 3D model has to be created by the help of C sharp. So one must be having a good knowledge related to C sharp programming languages. 3D model is again the second point, that is VR developers will likely need to work with a 3D system like 3D Max and 3D software development and system like Game Engine. So one such thing is related to the 3D modeling, which I previously mentioned as well. That was, if you want to make a virtual reality world, you must learn 3D modeling, because without 3D modeling, virtual reality world will never exist. And the last thing, which is video game development. So now this particular point might be you might be thinking that why game development technology is being required. So in game development technology is being required because the entire world which is created in a video game is not a real world. It is a augmented world only. Sorry, it is a virtual reality world only. And the entire world which is created using the VR is actually made with the help of 3D modeling. And if a person is having a good knowledge related to the development of a game and development skills in a gaming platform, then he must find the virtual reality concept of developing the virtual reality app or platform very easily. So these 3 points are the most important points related to virtual reality development. Now, what is the entire summary? So, in conclusion, the virtual reality is an incredible technology that creates a simulated interactive 3D world by using a special headset and sometimes other equipments as well. VR tricks your brain into feeling like you are in different place. This technology has come a long way and can be used for various purposes, for entertainment, education, training, and therapy. VR system can vary in how immersive they are, from fully immersive experience to more basic ones that you can use with just a computer and a monitor. The main components that are being used, like input devices like 3D mouse, output devices, special glasses, and software bringing together. Overall, the virtual reality concept is a very interesting and attractive a concept, and every I think user in future will be using this particular concept in some or the other way. So in this particular presentation I discussed about the concept related to the virtual reality, and in the upcoming week I'll be showing you certain videos related to virtual reality as well. So in the next week I will be doing that particular part. So if you have any question till now, then you can definitely ask for me.
Suyash,
Yeah.
I want to ask one thing about do you know what is hologram? It is related to virtual reality or hologram technology? I'm just asking, like.
Yeah, I think hologram technologies are related to virtual reality, but in hologram, that VR headset concept is not used. It is, I think, done with the help of that projector concept. But the entire portion which is being created, like the environment which is created using that hologram, that is related to the virtual reality concept only, because in that hologram technology, I think the 3D models are being used over there. So if 3D
Like,
models are used over there, then that definitely it will be related to virtual reality.
okay. Okay, no doubt, Suyash.
Okay, Rudransh, now you can continue.
Yes. Keshav, are you ready to present your presentation?
Yes, I am ready.
Yes, you can move forward.
Okay. Guys, please give me confirmation whether my screen is visible and my audio is clear.
Yes, both are good.
Yes, it is visible and audible.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Keshav Avasthi, and today I am continuing my series related to Node.js. Today is my sixth PowerPoint presentation related to this full stack development. So topics which I will cover today is recap of previous presentation plus left implementation part, JavaScript basics part 2, advanced JS part 1. If the time permits, then I will cover the third portion. So next is JavaScript basics part 2. Firstly, before completing this, I will try to recap all the topics that I have covered in my previous presentations. So these are the topics that I have covered. So here you can see extensions need to install, HTML topics. These all are the topics that I have covered already. Next is JavaScript basic topics like what is keyword, what is window object, what is hosting and primitive, these all. So these are the topics that I have covered. Now the left implementation part is this copy and move command. So today I will show you this again. Wait a minute, guys. So here you can see in the left side and right side. In right side, this is the terminal view of this path. Commands practice folder. I am inside the command practice folder right now in my right side also and in my left side also. Here you can see. So the command which I will implement today are copy and move command. So copy command is used to, firstly I will show you, like if I will write dir and then press enter, here you can see, wait a minute, here you can see uh, one file is there and one folder which is already there in this, inside this command practice folder. So and in left side also the same is there. So if I want to copy this file, example file.txt, inside this example folder, right now you can see there is nothing inside this example folder. So if I want to copy this file, from the terminal, I will write copy and then the name of the file, example file.txt, and then path. So firstly, for copying the path, I will write cd, and here you can see the full path is given. So firstly, I will copy this path, Control C. Then I will clear this screen, and if I will write now copy and the name of the file and the path inside which I want to copy this file. So I will write the path and slash. I want to copy this file inside example folder, and I will write pxam example and then folder. And then if I will press enter, here you can see one output is shown to us, which is one file is copied. So now if you will open example folder, inside this you can see one same file is copied inside this example folder. So this is how you can use this copy command. Now next command is move command. Firstly, I will delete this file which is already there in example folder. So for deleting that, I will firstly move inside this folder, example folder, and I will write del command and then name of the file. So now you can see if a file is deleted. So now I will use the move command. So for using the move command, now I don't right now I don't have to copy this file inside this folder. Now I just have to move this complete file inside this example folder. So now I will use the move command, move, and the name of the file which I want to move. Wait a minute. Okay, firstly I will go back. Now if I will write move and then name of the file and then path, path of the file and then folder name, which is example folder. And now if I will press enter, here you can see the message is shown to us, which is one file is moved. So now if I will double tap inside this, here you can see the same file is moved inside this example folder. So this is how you can use the copy and move command. So now this part is completed. If anyone is having any doubt, then he or she can ask. Now the next part is So now I'm starting the JavaScript basic to implementation part. My audio is clear?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So today the topics which I will cover are functions, arrays, and objects. Not I will not completely cover the objects, but I will complete cover the functions part and array part. So sorry for the glitch, guys. It's not working. Hmm. So now I'm starting the topic which is functions in JavaScript. So functions in JavaScript are basically of five types. The first one is normal function. Second one is self-called function or immediately invoked function. The another name of self-called functions are immediately invoked functions or IIF. On third type of function is fat arrow function. Fourth type of function is callback function, and fifth type of function is recursive function. The first three are the ways, the different types of how we can write the function, and last two are the methodologies how you can easily invoke that function in different ways. So the last two are the callback function and recursive functions are the ways to implement that function, and first three are the method, the syntax style how these functions are written. So now I will show you this normal function. So here you can see this is an example of normal function without parameters. So here you can see this is the syntax. The green line is the commented portion where I have written function definition is given below. This is the function definition. This is the syntax how you can write the function inside the JavaScript. So this is the function definition whose name is greet. And inside this greet function, uh, the main what I have to say, the main symbol which represent the function is this parenthesis. So anything in JavaScript which is written inside this parenthesis and before that parenthesis any name was written, then please ensure that that is the function name. So this is how you can define the function. And inside this curly brackets, you can write the definition of function. So right now in the fifth line, you can see here inside that function, the function definition which is written is console.log hello world. So this line will execute when we will call this function. So in the ninth line, in the eighth line, I've commented like function calling is given below. So this is how you can call the function which is shown in the ninth line, greet. So when I will call this function from ninth line, then our control goes to fourth line and then fifth line, and then it will continue inside all the lines which are written inside this curly braces. So this is how normal functions looks like without parameters, because parameters are those which is written inside this function signature. So anything which is written inside these curly brackets, not curly bracket, this is what I have to say, parenthesis. So anything which is written inside this parenthesis are called parameters. So right now here you can see no parameters is there. So this is no parameter function, and this is normal function which is there in JavaScript. Now next is normal function but with parameters. So this is example one. You can see function definition is given below. This is how the function I have defined one function with name greet. And here you can see in 10th line, I am calling that function by passing the parameters with one parameter is Keshav and another parameter is UP. So I am passing these two parameters from the 10th line. And after when the 10th line will execute, the control will go through the fifth line and it will executes all the lines which is written inside these curly braces of this function definition. So now it will move to the sixth line, and sixth line here you can see line is written console.log hello, and then dynamically I am using this variables or the parameter values which I am passing from 10th line. So this is dynamically locate all the values from these parameters. My audio is clear? Hello?
Yeah, your audio is clear.
Okay. Okay. And another parameter which is passed is which is state. So here you can see when I will execute this line, the output will be hello and the name which is Kesho. Hello Kesho, you are from UP. So this is the output of the first example. If anyone feels any doubt, then he can interrupt me in between, and I will resolve their doubt. Now next example is example 2. So this is also the normal parameterized function. Here I have declared one function which is sum1, and inside the sum1 the parameters which is written inside the parentheses are num1, num2 and num3. And when I will do the function call, then only the definition which is the code which is written inside the function definition will execute. So now I am passing the values 4, 6 and 8 from the 19th line, and then 4 is allocated to num1, 6 is allocated to num2 and 8 is allocated to num3. And finally, when the 15th line will execute, the output will be sum is equal to, uh, and now inside this, here you can see dynamically I have used these values num1, num2 and then num3, and I have assigned some operators in between so that it will perform some calculation, and final output will be sum is the summation of 4 plus 6 plus 8, which is 18. So output of this code will be sum is equal to 18. Now next is example 3. Wait a minute. Next is example 3. So here I have used one another concept which is triple dot and then variable name. This is spread operator. And now when the normal execution of JavaScript will go, when it will reach to the line number 32. So here you can see I have passed 5 parameters, 1, 1, 1, 3 and 5. And in uh, when you will see the 23th line inside the parenthesis, there are only the 3 variables are written, num1, num2, and another is others. So when this 32 line will execute, one is given, when is one the value 1 is allocated to a variable which is num1, another value 1 is allocated to variable num2, and rest all the values are allocated to this others function in the form of array. So this is how you can pass the multiple values without, if you don't know initially how many variables can come inside the function as a parameter, then you can use this others, and before the you can use any name, but before the variable you have to use this triple dot which is spread operator to so it will consume that value in the form of array. So now if I will do the summation of all the values, then I will write final answer is equal to num1 plus num2, which is like 1 plus 1, which is 2, and 2 is given to this final answer. And because the rest all values 1, 3 and 5 are in the form of array, so I have to iterate over each element in the array, which is 1, 3, 5. So I will so here I have used for each function. I will briefly explain for each function in later half, but right now you have to just see for each is just iterating over all the elements from this 1 to 5, which is there inside this others. So it will iterate over all the values and summation of all the values, and finally assign to this final answer, and finally we are printing that answer. So sum is equal to the summation of all these values. Till now anyone is having any doubt?
No doubt.
Hello? Okay. Now next is self-called function or IIFE, which is immediately invoked function expression.
Keshav,
So here I have,
can you run these programs?
okay. Why my presentation is not, wait a minute, Rudransh.
Yes.
Yes. I will make the new file from so that will easy for me. Right now my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes, it is
Rudransh,
visible.
Rudransh, you can tell me which program I have to run so that if I will run all the program, then it will take a lot of time.
Last one. Like
This other dot dot triple dot and others.
yes.
Okay, okay. So
From
right
next
now I'm creating one.
presentation, you also make a page for outputs.
Okay, okay. Like if I will create the function which is sum, and here and right now I'm declaring one variable which is num1 and another is num2, and declaring one another variable, let final sum is equal to 0. So when I will call this function, I am wait a minute, sum, and if I will pass 5 and 7 and then um, no, 5 and 7 minus sum number is two. Oh, fine, no, so this is a program which I have just written. So here you can see in the line 1, I have declared one variable which is final sum whose initial value is 0. And from second line, I have write one definition, function definition that we will see later. And in seventh line, here the statement which is written is console.log, and inside that console.log, I have called one function which is sum with the what the name of this with the formal parameters. One point I have to tell you that the values which I am passing during the function call, then that time these values are called formal parameters, and when these values are assigned to num1 and num2, then num1 and num2 are called actual parameters. So this I forget to tell, but right now I've cleared this. Mhm. So when I have called this function sum 5 comma 7, so now these values 5 and 7 is passed to num1 and num2, and inside that function definition, the summation of num1 and num2, which is 7 plus 5, 12, which is assigned to final sum. And when these 12 is assigned to final sum, and I am returning that value of final sum to where when to the uh, to the function, when I have called that function to that location only, I am passing this final sum which is 12. So when I will run this file, so when I will run this file by writing this node and then this name of the file, and when I will press enter, wait a minute, what is this one? Oh, sorry, I am running the wrong file. I have to write node and then practice 2. So here you can see the result which is there, which is 12. So this is when I know how many parameters come to me during the definition of function. So this is the case when we know how many values are passed inside my function. So let's say user are passing like more values like 7, like 10, and then again 10. So at that time, because guys, please give me confirmation whether my voice and screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay. So I am continuing with my function. So I have completed till how our function will execute when we are passing the already known parameters. Like we know that only two parameters will come from seventh line, and with according to that, I have declared two actual parameters inside the function definition parenthesis. So if the case will be arise when user will pass more than uh, two values, and inside the function definition, I have written only two parameters. So how these two values will go inside this function? So to resolve this issue, right now, if I will execute this, so here you can see if I will execute this program, here you can see the program is giving me the answer according to these two, 5 and 7. Because 5 is allocated to num1 and 7 is allocated to num2, and summation of these two values give pass to final sum, and I am returning this final sum from where I am calling this function. And I am calling this function inside from console.log. So I am just uh, So I'm just get the answer, which is 12. So now the case arises how these values will be allocated. So the method to do this is by writing triple dot and any variable name like extra. If I will write extra, then these two values 10 and 10 will pass to extra like this, extra, and these two values are passed like this, 10 and 10 in the form of array, with the indexes as 0, 0, and next element with index as 1. So this is how the rest elements are passed to this extra variable. So now, wait a minute, extra variable. So now if I have to use these two values from this extra, which is an array. So I will just write, wait a minute, extra dot for each. This is the method to traverse inside the array. So I will explain this method in brief later on. But just till now, you have to just know that this is just traversing all the values, and inside this value VAL, these 10 and then again 10 is passed inside this value parameter, because this is a callback function. I am covering this callback later on the later half. So now I will do like final sum is equal to plus and then this value. Now I am finally returning this final sum. So now if I will execute this program, there you can see output is changed to 32 from 12. Here you can see, if I will zoom it out, this you can see from 12 the output changed to 32. So this is how we can pass the more parameter. Now if I will more parameters I will pass. And now if I will run again this file, so according to that, my answer will change. So now my answer is 407. Clear, Udansh? Rudransh?
Yes.
Okay. So now my next category of this, the function is self-called functions. The self-called are the type of functions which are no need to call by the user. They are called during the during the writing part of the code. So these are the type of function. Here you can see from line 4 to line 6. This is the self-called function, means it will be automatically called when the code is written of it. When the code of that function is written, then only when that function will execute, then it will be called. It will be not on the user's hand to call this function. लाइक ये वो तरह के फंक्शंस होते हैं, जैसे मैंने लाइन ऑफ 4 to 6 में मैंने लिखा हुआ है, जैसे इस तरह के फंक्शंस को अगर मैंने लिखा, तो यूजर पे वो डिपेंड नहीं करता है कि यूजर जब चाहे इन तरह के फंक्शंस को कॉल कर ले। वो जब फाइल एग्जीक्यूट होगी तो वो फंक्शंस अपने आप कॉल हो जाएंगे। दैट्स व्हाई दीज आर कॉल्ड इमीडिएटली इन्वोक्ड फंक्शन। Example 1, you can see from 4 to 6 line. I have started with the parenthesis. I will just show you the practical implementation of it. I have already considered these two examples. Now I will show you how these will run. So now, firstly, you have to write this function. And in self-called function, there is no need to write the name of the function. Now, if I will write console dot log, and I will write anything like hello. Wait a minute, hello. And after that, when I will call this here, and then the whole function will be go inside this parenthesis. Wait a minute. So this is the way how you can write this self-called function. Now, if I will right now here, right now I want to tell you that I am not calling this function externally, because this function has no name. And during the definition of the function, I just call from here. You can see, wait a minute. From this. This is the way how I am calling this self-called function, because this function has not any name given to this function. So now if I will execute that file, node practice.js, here you can see the output which is shown is very small. Wait a minute. So here you can see output which is shown, which is hello, because when I am executing this file through this node, so because this is self-called function, the definition, the code which is written inside this self-called function will be automatically called. Now, if I want to just with like the normal function, if I want to use this function again, so there is no other way to use this function again. I have to redefine this function again for the next call, like this. So this is how the self-called function is written. I can also write this also. If I will do like this also, then also this function will be run. Hello. So I have shown you how the self-called function, which is whose other name is also immediately invoked function works. So here you can see these are the self-called function. So next is another two examples of self-called functions. So before in the previous slide, I have shown you how the self-called function runs without the parameters. Now these are the two examples where I have passed these parameters also. So from here you can see from sixth line. So these parameters will go inside this name and UP is allocated to state, and finally according to these parameters output we can see. So I think there is no need to implement these functions again. Oh, next, any doubt till now? Anyone? So I think there is no doubt. Now next is a fat arrow function. So fat arrow function is the way how we can represent the normal function but in a shorter form. So this is the example I have included, and this is another example. Now here you can see from in the fourth line, you can see given below is the normal function. This is how we can write the normal function. First is definition and then function calling. The same function, if I want to use in the form of fat arrow function, then I can write the same function like this with the parenthesis and then arrow and then this curly scope. Inside this curly scope, I have written the same line which I have written in normal function. So this is how you can write the normal function in the form of fat arrow function, because this will reduce some line of codes from our whole program. And because this fat arrow function does not contain any name, so when we have to call this function, so firstly before calling that function, I have to assign that function into another variable for the calling purpose. So next time if I want to call that function again, so I have to call that function again with the variable name to which I have passed this function. So here you can see in line number 12, I have passed this fat arrow function inside this function 2. And when I am calling this function to with the parenthesis, the output will be shown to us, which is fat arrow function. Uh, any doubt?
No.
Okay. Next example, you can see this example too. The from 4th to ninth line, here you can see I have written some normal function with some parameters. In the left side example, I have not included any parameters, but in right side, I have included some parameters also, like passing the name and the state. So this will work accordingly like normal function. The same function I have written in from 11 to 16 line, the same function I have written in fat arrow uh, syntax, in that syntax of fat arrow function. So this is how you can execute the fat arrow function. The name and the state, and then this arrow sign double equal to, and then this what I have to say, less than or greater. And this is you can easily know. And then I will open this curly braces, and inside that curly braces, I have written the same code that I have written inside the normal function. Because the fat arrow function does not contain any name, firstly I have to assign this fat arrow function inside some another variable. So here in this case, the variable name is function2, and when I will call this function to with the parameters, then it will execute this the code which is written in 13th line. So name is equal to Rohit and the state is MP. Uh, Now next is Next is a very important type of function which is callback function, because in backend it is very useful. So it is very important. So please focus in this callback function. Any doubt in fat arrow function or any type of function which I have explained till now?
No.
Okay. Now next is callback function. So this is very important type of function you have to know. So this is callback function example when I have written. So here from in fourth and fifth line I have written, let's create a function that returns the square of a number. So this is a normal function, square function, and then it will take one parameter and return the square of that parameter. And 11th and 12th line here it is written, let's create another function that returns the cube of a number. So n into n into n, this is a normal function. This you can easily wait a minute. This you can easily understand. Now in 18th line, I have written, now we will create a third function that perform the sum calculation. So let's right now ignore this lines which are written from 20 to 24. And in last line, in 26th line, you can see I am calling this calculation function. And inside that calculation function I am passing the uh, what I have to say, formal parameters, which is 5, and two parameters which itself are the function, which is a square function and another one is cube function. One thing I have to point out here is square function is a normal function and cube function I have written in the form of fat arrow function. So this you have to notice. So I am passing this a square function and cube function inside this calculation function. This square function is now allocated to this callback function 1, and another function cube function is allocated to this callback function 2. Now inside this calculation function from 26 line which I am calling, these function are passed to this function. Whole function definitions are passed to these variables, callback function 1 and callback function 2. Now, when I will use this function, callback function 1, and when I am passing the value a, which is here in my case is 5. So callback function a, which means callback function 1, which is actually this square function, and 5 is passed to this function. And returning 5 into 5, which is 25, and then 25 is assigned to this square variable. So this is how this first callback function working. And a second callback function, which is actually a queue function, and inside the queue function I am again passing this 5 variable, and because this is a queue function, the 5 variable is passed inside this 14th line and returning the 5 into 5 into 5, which is 125, and returning. And because from here I am calling this value 125 is passed to this CB variable, and finally we are printing the output from the 23 line, which is square is 25 and cube is 125. So final the output which will be come in our screen is 25, square is 25 and cube is 125. So any doubt, or I have to implement, is there any need to implement this whole?
No, no. No doubt.
Okay. So this is how the callback function works, which means when we are passing any functions inside any other function so that he can get some useful out of it. So in that case, we are using the concept of callback function. I have included the many examples related to callback function. Now we have seen another example. So this is the same code, but with some changes in 23rd line. In the previous code, we are printing in 23rd line. Just we are directly printing the output by using these callback functions. But in this example, we are returning something. So we are returning square is this whole line. Square is 25 and cube is 125. We are returning. So from here, calculation function till this. So this will return something which will move to console.log, and that will print in my screen. So this is very small changes. I don't need I don't think so. I have to explain this in brief. Now next is example number 3. So this is also how you can use this callback function. This is another way. This is same example, but with with some little changes from 23rd to 25th line. So this after using these callback function 1 and callback function 2 and getting some values in square variable, SQ variable and in CB variable, I am returning another function inside the function. Here you can see the function which I have called is calculation function, and inside this calculation function, one another finally I am getting one another function. So I've, I think so. I have to implement this so that it will be very clear to you. Mm. So I will create one function immediately like square squ square function, and I will pass n inside this, and it will return this n into n, and another function which will be cube function. Because it is fat arrow function, I have to write like this expression, and it will returning me with this n into 1 into n. Now another function is funcct. Another function is calculation. Calculation. And inside this, I am passing one variable calculation and another function callback, callback, callback function 1 and callback function 2. And here I am performing some calculation. Let SQ by using these callback function 1 uh, with this value, and callback function CB, this callback function 2 with the value n. So I will write the another part later. And here, from here, I am calling this function calculation by passing the value 5 and two functions which are pair function and another is cube function. Cube function. So here I have written something. So if right now if I will in 13th line if I will write console dot log and then uh, square comma something and with some space in between and then cd. So now if I will run this file, I will run this file. Here you can see the output which I am getting are 25 and 125 because they are performing as usual as they are defined. So now if I will from here, if I will return this same line, wait a minute. Now if I will remove this console.log and if I want to return the answer in the form of function, so how I can return it? I will return like return and then this fat arrow function and the same lines which I want to return. I will write the same line inside the global escape of like this. So here you can see I am returning a function which is a fat arrow function. Right now, if I will execute this file, here you can see it will showing me nothing because I am getting nothing because as a result I am getting function, not any type of output. Now if I will write the same line but inside the console.log, console.log. So now you can see I have written this 18th line inside the console.log. If I will comment this out, now you can see some important thing. Here you can see the output which is shown to us is, wait a minute, output which is shown to us is function anonymous because we are returning a fat arrow function without any name. So that's why this function is giving me a answer which is anonymous function. So this whole line is acting as a anonymous function with like here you can see like this. So if I want to call if I want to see what is wait a minute, console.log. So if I want to see what is written because in 18th line it is returning some anonymous function, so I have to call this function. Now if I will return like this, the function, here you can see the function and then this function calling way. So now if I will comment this portion, and now if I will again rerun this file, here you can see I am cutting this output 20 and 25 and 125. So this is how I can return this functions. I can pass the function inside the function and getting another function from that function. So this is the methodology of callback functions. So anyone is having any doubt?
No.
Okay. So now this is example 3. Now next example is example 4. So this is also a very good example related to callback function. Now here you can see an example I have created one array in the fifth line. Here you can see with the elements 4, 1, -20, -7, 5, 9 and -6. In seventh line and assigning this whole array in this variable which is my numbers. Right now I have not taught you array portion, but I will cover in the remaining time. But currently you have to just focus on what I'm saying. Now in 8 line you can see I am calling remove negating with wait a minute. Huh. So I am in 8 line you can see remove negative, which is a type of function, and inside that wait a minute, inside this remove negative function I am passing this whole array my numbers, which is like this whole array I am passing inside this remove negative function. And here you can see one function which is a fat arrow function. This is the way I am passing the whole functions also. This is fat arrow function. So in this remove negative function, the first thing as a parameter I am passing is an array, and next is a fat arrow function. So how this remove negative function is working? So this is the function definition of remove negative function. So in 11th line, you can see I am getting this whole array in the numbers variable.
Keshav,
And in
cover in
callback,
5 minutes.
okay. So 11th line, you can see inside the parenthesis, two variables are written, which is first one is numbers and another name of the variable is callback function. So in number variable, I am getting this whole array from number 4 to -6, and in callback function, I am getting this function, the fat arrow function. Now in 12th line, you can see the one another array I have defined, which is initially uh, the array which I have defined in my array is empty. So from 13 to 17th line, here you can see I am using this for loop, for off loop, which is just iterating over all the elements in this numbers array. So when uh, inside this for loop, when x is getting with the value which is 4, so x is traversing over all the elements. When x is getting the value 4, and that value is checking inside this if section with by passing that value inside this callback function. So when inside this callback function the value 4 is passed, like callback 4, then that callback 4 is goes inside this. So here it is checking 4 is whether 4 is greater than 0. So yes, it is greater than 0. So in this I am passing this inside this my array, which is an empty array. I am passing this 4 value inside this my array function. So with 4, because 4 is a positive value, so because I have given this condition here, so according to that condition, the 4 is passed inside this my array function. Now x is goes to next index, and the value which is there inside this x will be 1. So again inside this callback function 1 is there, to callback 1. So here you can see 1, and 1 is whether 1 is greater than 0. So yes, it is greater than 0. Now it is again pushing that value 1 inside this my array function. So now my array which is an array with the value 4 and 1 is there inside the function. When x moves to another number which is -20. So when it will check inside the callback function and by passing -20 inside the callback function, like callback -20. So -20 will check whether -20 will be greater than 0, so false. So it, because it is false, so it will not pushing that -20 value inside this my array function. It will move further to -7 and then 5 to and then 9 and -6. So this is the code which is just refining all the positive values uh, and making that collection of that positive values and move inside this myArray function, and finally it will returning this myArray function from where I am calling this function. So I am calling this remove negative function from the 18th line, and finally this positive numbers will get the array of myArray with all the positive numbers like 4, 1, 5, 7, 5, and 9 as the final answer. So when I will execute, when the 21st line will be execute, the final answer which we will get will be 4, 1, 5, and 9. So this is the very good example related to callback function. Anyone is having any doubt in this example?
No doubt. And wind up in 1 minute.
So, so this is about the concept related to a callback function. Now next is recursive function. So this is how much time is left?
Half a minute or 1 minute.
Okay, so I will just immediately conclude this recursive function. So recursive function is not a way how to represent the function in another type. It is just a methodology how we can easily write our code without using the extra loops. So this is the way, this is a basic recursive function. So in this function, when the function call itself inside the function definition, then that methodology is called recursive methodology. Like in example, here you can see these are the two example. In 10th line, I am calling in factorial with the value 5 inside this console.log, and according to that variable, this function is giving me the factorial of that number. And in second example, I have included this Fibonacci sequence. So this is a recursive function how I can use this methodology. In 13th line, I am again calling this Fibonacci function, which is a recursive function, and I have included some base condition so that it can easily terminate according to that base condition, and it will recursively gives me the Fibonacci value, like 6 Fibonacci value according to the recursion pattern. So this is how the recursive function works. So this much is still this much I want to cover in this today's presentation. Anyone is having any doubt, then he can ask.
No doubts.
Okay. So Vedant, now you can start up with your presentation.
Vedant, you are starting or I will start my presentation?
Oh, sorry, Rudransh, you can start the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Today, I will proceed in the Docker part. My screen is visible to all. And am I audible?
Yes, your screen is visible and you are audible too.
Okay. We are start with today with Docker components. In previous session, I will give a brief introduction, or we can say that introductory part of Docker. So today we are moving forward. Firstly, we give me a second. Okay. Okay. We are starting the Docker components. And how many Docker components? Basically, there are 7: Docker client, Docker host, Docker server, Docker image, Docker container. These are called the terminologies of Dockers: Docker repository and Docker registry. So what is Docker client? Firstly, Docker client is nothing but my like in my computer, Docker is installed. When I used to connect, I go in the terminal and I just write Docker. So I connect to the Docker server, and this is called which I have write the command Docker. So my computer is a Docker client at that phase. Okay. So details about Docker and its component. One of the most thing. Okay. So second one is Docker host. What is Docker host? In my previous session, I tell you about Docker host. Docker host is nothing but basically a software. Not a software, but a system where the Docker is installed, where the Docker is running. So I have a question for you all. If you listen correctly in previous session.
Rudransh,
Yes.
Sorry, but can you please repeat till now what you have explained
In
again?
my previous session or in this video or Docker client
In
which
this video, in this video, in this video, in this video.
okay, okay. So Docker client is nothing but interface like my computer in which the Docker desktop is installed, and I just write the command in command line Docker only. So I am the client which is use the Docker. So this laptop where the part where the Docker is we can say stored. Okay, like I am using, so my username will act as a Docker client. Okay, so the next part is Docker host. So if you listen my words correctly in my previous session, so I am asking a question. Docker host, firstly I will tell you what is Docker host, then you tell me what is Docker host for this. Okay, my laptop. So Docker host is nothing but a system where the Docker is running. Okay, like in the Linux, like in many operating system, where the Docker is installed and inside which operating system the Docker is running, that's called the Docker host. So tell me what is the Docker host for my Windows?
Your own Windows operating system, I think.
That's the point. I will tell you. I tell you in my previous session, Docker is not independently installed on your Windows. Docker is always associated a Linux machine with it. So what is the Docker host for my Windows is not Windows. It's a Linux machine. If I using a Ubuntu like Ubuntu version of Linux, then what is the host Docker host of I am using a Ubuntu operating system, and in that I have installed the Docker. In that you can't install the Docker desktop. You have to install the Docker engine. Okay, and if Docker engine is installed, if you want to know what is the Docker host, then the Docker host is your Ubuntu, not the Linux. Okay, because the Linux is the because inside the Linux the property if you remember my previous presentation, I mentioned the point that namespace is the property that separate the resources. So that property is always associated with your Linux operating system. You can't like process with namespace in your Windows. Linux has a specific property to separate the resources. That's called the namespace. If you remember, otherwise I will show you in where the cursor is moving. Give me a second.
Your voice is, I think, not clearly audible.
Okay,
It is breaking in between.
okay, okay. So this time I am audible correctly. My voice is clear. Uh, am I audible to all?
Yes, yes, yes.
The voice is clear. Whatever I told previous, that's clear to all.
Yes, yes, you can continue with
So okay,
your other topic.
okay. Okay, so in where we are in here. I think I deleted it from this portion. I just okay, okay. I also forwarded to the WhatsApp. Give me a second. So here, give me a second. So here you can see normally that namespace in Linux allows isolation of computer resources between processes. So this is the property. That's why the Docker host for Windows is Linux, because if you install the Docker desktop, a Linux operating system, a small Linux property is coming with your operating system. That's called Linux operating system, and the namespace property, which is associated with the Linux, it's use the Docker, and with the help of this Linux, we can use the Docker inside the Windows. Am I clear? So I tell you about the Docker host. Am I audible, Keshav?
Yeah, but
If
I
not,
think you are not presenting your screen right now.
yes, yes. This time the screen is visible.
Yes, visible, and audio is also clear. You can continue.
Okay. So I explain about Docker host. So you will get the clear idea of Docker host. What is Docker host? Like I am install. I have an extra question. If you install the Docker, like what is the Docker host for Mac OS? Tell me.
I think Mac OS is based on Linux operating system. So I think in this case, Linux is only the Docker host.
Yes.
Sorry, Mac OS is only the Docker host.
No, 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 no. The previous one is right.
Linux, sorry.
Yes, yes. If my knowledge is going on the correct side, then Windows it's always the Linux one, but for the Mac OS, let me check.
Rudransh,
Yes,
I want to ask one thing. The Linux, Windows, these are the operating system,
yes,
and Ubuntu and Kali Linux.
yes.
Whether the Ubuntu is a type of Linux or Ubuntu is just using the features of Linux and it is another operating system. And
Actually,
Kali, and same for Kali Linux.
like if, till my knowledge, you like the Windows versions, okay? Windows 7, Windows 11, Windows 12 coming, upcoming. So this is the 7, 10, 9. So these are versions. So at a specific features and the versions of Linux will combine and make a Ubuntu. And the Kali Linux is also, these are the like basic one is always Linux, but in that some of the features and versions, advanced versions of the Linux is called. I will take it also like in next presentation. I tell you about this.
Yes, you can consider this as a doubt in your next presentation.
Okay, okay. The recommended way to Docker run is to use Docker desktop. Docker, okay. So good. Docker desktop macro ID. Okay, yeah, I think it can't know. Docker host for Mac OS is Linux or not. Okay, Linux, Linux. Okay, Docker desktop for Mac OS. You will see that Docker desktop for Mac OS does not run Docker containers directly on a Linux kernel. Okay, instead it uses a lightweight virtual machine to run a Linux environment on your Mac OS. This VM-based Alpine is managed. Okay, so at the end, Alpine Linux is managed and configured the Docker desktop. So you can see that Docker desktop is not independently run on your what we can say Mac OS. So a small machine which is called a Linux is installed. So operating system is Linux. Okay. Docker host is Linux. Are you am I clear? Am I clear your doubt?
Yes, but you can include this doubt in your future presentation in a brief also.
Okay.
Right now it's okay, but you can include this, please.
Okay. Okay. So the next one is Docker server. So Docker server is nothing but a set of processes. Okay, that are interact like creating a new container, creating writing inside the container. These all the things done by the Docker server. So firstly, the Docker client will connect to Docker daemon. What is daemon? Like one of the here you can see one of the most important one of the most thing in Docker server is Docker daemon. So Docker daemon is nothing but a basically we can say that intermediator, like here the Docker client and here the Docker server. Here not the Docker server, here the containers. So what is inside the middle? Here's the Docker server in main portion, and inside the Docker server, we can say Docker daemon is associated. Actually, in one of my slides, I will tell you about. I think I am not included this. Okay, okay, that slide is not included, but I will try to explain it. Inside the middle one, the Docker daemon is associated. Okay. So Docker server is here. What is Docker server? I explained. If you run the Docker run command, then it firstly goes to the Docker daemon. After the Docker daemon, if the image is present in your desktop, then it will fetch directly from your desktop. Otherwise, it will go to the Docker hub where all the public images are associated. Okay. And if the image is present in Docker hub, it will fetch the image from Docker hub and then create a container inside your Docker. Okay, based on that image. Okay, so Docker client, Docker host, Docker server is cleared. So what is Docker image? Docker image is nothing but a set of files. We cannot say set of files, but we can say the layered wise set of files. Docker image is a blueprint of your container. Every like here you can see Docker container. So each container is based on your Docker image. So like if I want that a single Docker image, I want to create a many I want to create many containers of a same Docker image. I am able to create that image also. Well, I am able to create that containers also. Like the first, I will tell you in next slide. Okay. So the Docker, what is Docker repository? So in my previous topic, that is the GitHub portion. So in that you can get to know GitHub is stores your versions of your file. So here you can show versions of your image. Okay. So Docker repository, what stored? It stores your versions of your image. Docker registry, what Docker registry stored? Docker registry is nothing but stored all your images. Okay, not the versions like public images also. If I am go to the local registry, so it will store only the custom images which I have created. But give me a second. Okay, okay. So Docker registry for local is my folder. We can say for public one, the Docker registry is what? The public one, Docker registry is Docker Hub, like Git to GitHub, Docker to Docker Hub. But here the not the Docker, because Docker is not installed. Like Docker is not simply run all your laptop, because that laptop is working on Windows 11. So the Docker not is running. Docker desktop provide an interface with Linux operating system that will work. Okay. So details about Docker and its component. One of the most thing in Docker server is Docker daemon, because it will take care of interactions, some basic commands execution. Okay. What does okay. I will tell you some basic commands. So firstly, we will go here and just write firstly exit. I run some commands here. Till here, you have any doubt?
No, you can continue.
Okay. So clear is not recognized. Okay. Just cancel it. And here you can write cmd prompt. So here you can see a command prompt is visible to all. Just here you write Docker firstly. So here you can see a self-sufficient runtime for containers. Here you all the things. But if I want to like Docker version. So here you can understand Keshav what is client. So client is nothing.
Raj,
Yes, yes.
I think you have not tell how to install Docker in our devices. You have tell, or I am forgetting that.
Actually, I tell you, okay. Docker is, I think, I installation part I will not covered in my previous
Mm.
session.
That's why I'm getting when you have write the command Docker version. So I think in your local setup it is already installed.
Okay, so Docker, okay. So Docker is not installed on your operating system.
Yes, yes. I think you have not covered the installation part.
Installation part, I just missed it. Okay, so you understand from here.
You can continue that. You can continue from here, but in our in your next presentation, you can include the installation part. And right now, we are assume. I will assume that you are continuing after the installation part.
Okay. I will tell you what. So here you can write, basically I write the first command, which is Docker, with the help of Docker, only Docker command you like work as a tell you about Docker is installed or not. So Docker, a self-sufficient runtime for containers. These are the common commands. These are the management commands. Actually, Docker associate the management and common commands separately, because there are many commands when the Docker is invented and the Docker is implemented. There are many commands, all are grouped together, but the developers think that we have to separate it to easy the use of these commands, so that everyone, like, these are the commands here you can see. So firstly, the second command is Docker version. So Docker version, with the help of this, the client information and server information we will get to know. Here you can see that the Docker desktop running. Okay, if I just off this from here. Okay, firstly I will go here and just I quit Docker desktop. So it will be quitted. So firstly, I will give you the details of client. So version is 26.1.1. Here I will using the Docker desktop, which is version as 26.1. API version, because Keshav, you will get that point that API, with the help of API, the Docker desktop is connected to the Docker server. Okay, without API, these the conditions are not done. So API,
Ranj,
yes.
I want to ask that currently, what is acting as a server in my desktop through which an API, which is a Docker API, is connected to Docker server. So, what is the particular thing which is acting as a server in my local system that is connected to API of Docker?
uh, API of Docker. Okay. So here
मीन्स मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ मैं
yes.
ये पूछ रहा हूँ जैसे कि अभी तुमने कहा कि अभी एपीआई एक दिया है जिसका वर्जन है 1.45। तो
Yes.
एपीआई के थ्रू मेरा जो लोकल सिस्टम है जो कि जिससे कि हम डॉकर की फैसिलिटीज जो कि एपीआई से थ्रू हम कनेक्ट करके लेंगे वो हमारे सिस्टम पे विंडोज एक्ट एज सर्वर कर रहा है कि विंडोज पे हम जो वर्चुअल मशीन डाउनलोड है या जो कुछ भी डाउनलोड है वही जो मैं चीज पूछ रहा हूँ क्या डाउनलोड है जो कि एक्ट एज अ सर्वर कर रहा है जिससे कि वो
Linux.
कनेक्टेड है।
Linux.
ओके Linux, but in case of Windows, it is a virtual machine which we have downloaded, which is
No,
Ubuntu.
you
Case of
don't have.
Windows, I
Yes,
think.
yes. Okay. I tell you one point. If you install the Docker, actually I don't cover the Docker part. Okay, installation. So I will tell you in the installation part, you have to install a WSL, which is a small Linux machine for running the Dockers. Okay. So if I am correct here, just give me a second. CMD.
Okay, WSL, I think, yeah, about according to my knowledge, it is like if I want to if I want to run the Linux command inside my Windows machine, then I think I have to install this WSL, I think.
Yes,
Am I right?
yes. It is also good, correct. So give me a second. Firstly, I will tell you. So here error, but sometimes it will give like the Docker is always connected to your Linux subsystem of your Windows 11. Okay. You will understand that Linux is the server and where the things are done is Linux.
Okay, okay.
It will, the API version is interacting with Docker daemon, not the Docker server, because inside the Docker server, the daemon and the containers all are associated. So my client, my operating system here, it will interact with the Docker daemon. So here you can see Go version. By the text, you can get to know what is Go version. Here, the Docker is completely made up of Golang language. So Go, here you can see Go 1.21.9. So the Docker which is running is made up of Golang language, and it is also a commit. Like it is present in one of the repositories. That the commit of that repository is 4C5AF. The build is here. The date. Operating system is Windows AMD 64. But here, like sometimes in next you can see like here. Uh, Kesho, your doubt is cleared in the server part. Here you can see the operating system like Linux slash AMD 64. So here the server is on, your doubt is fully cleared. You tell, like you ask that what is the server and where the server is running. So it will in on the Linux. Am I cleared? Am I able to clear your doubt this time?
I think yes, you can, but I want to ask like currently I want to know where your system is in Windows, na? Main
Yes.
your host system is Windows,
Yes.
and is inside your host system you have virtually installed I think Ubuntu, or what you have installed Ubuntu or Kali Linux, or which Linux you have installed?
Actually, I doesn't installed any of that. I installed.
Linux.
Yes. I installed. I tell you one thing. Firstly, I installed the Docker desktop. After that, the Docker desktop provide an option to install the Linux subsystem for the implementation of the Docker
Okay,
desktop.
okay, okay.
And by that option, I will install also the subsystems, and we can run it here.
Okay, okay. Now I got it. Now my all doubts are clear.
Yes.
With that, I think with that Docker, you have that provides you the facility to install all the necessary Linux parts,
Yes. Yes.
Linux systems.
Because without
Okay, okay,
Linux, the
got it.
Docker is not working.
Okay, okay. Now you can continue.
So here you can see the server is working on the Linux AMD 64. It is also made up of Golang language. The commit is different here, build and experimental false. So here you can see container D, runc and Docker init. Docker init is basically open the Docker and close the Docker. It is the part where you will open the Docker and the close the Docker. Second one is runc. So like in the runc portion, you will get a small portion. Like I have to create a small containers, and I have to interact with these small, like a small amount of containers. So we will go to the runc, and if I want to create with the higher level, then I will go to the container. It is the portions of the like Docker. Okay. So here the git commits and all of the things is done. So if this time if you write the Docker version, so here you can see error during this error during connect. This connect may indicate the Docker daemon is not running. So here you can see API is interacting with Docker daemon, which I have off here. So Docker desktop is not running this time. So I firstly go here. Give me a second. So okay. So just I'm clicking here. So here you can see starting the Docker engine. Firstly, tell you my screen is visible to all.
Yes, it is visible.
So you see that I installed the Docker engine. I on the Docker engine. I click and the engine is running. So this time, if I write the Docker version, so here you can see Docker. But with the help of API, the Docker like Docker client and the Docker server are connected. Okay, so here the basic things I will cover, that operating system where the server is running, operating system where your client is running. So client is Windows and the server where is running is Linux, because without Linux, the Docker desktop like Docker server is not running. Okay, so What is the language where the Docker is made up of? It is made up of Golang language. What is commit? What is API and all that? I will cover the portion. Okay. So next command is Docker ls. With the help of this command, uh, sorry, Docker ps. So with the help of this command, you will get to know the list of the containers which is running or which is running only, okay, on your desktop. So here no container is running. So it will like it will work as an empty one. So just I move in my presentation part. So I will explain this portion. After stopping the Docker engine is like here, basic command where you see the client and server made up of Golang language. Here you can see I will also write the text one. After stopping the Docker engine, stop Docker desktop unable to get the data to server, and this all the portion of this I will run. Okay. So here you can see like Docker client is nothing but the binary files which is installed on my desktops. If you remember the previous one, like previous PDF, I will see you here. So here you can see, give me a second. Where the diagram is, where the binary files. So okay, so container one, okay, binaries, you can see that binaries is present here. So binaries is working as a Docker client. You understand? So a small machine like Linux is over there. So text we can say a binary file is associated, and in that binary file our desktop is connected. Exists. Okay. So till this point, you have any doubt?
No doubt, no doubt.
Okay, so I'm moving forward because the time is sometimes less. So server, so these are details. I go with the implementation, and I explained it this time also. So I explained all these things. So Docker server, what is Docker server? Container D, run C, and Docker init, some special features where the container D associates some commands, and run C also associate. Run C is also some have the commands. Okay, Docker init also have a command like Docker run and all that. So container D, it is responsible for making container at high level. I will tell you that in the implementation part. I also tell you that the container D is for high level purpose. It works closely on Linux up to allocate resources. Okay, runc is also work for small level interaction between Docker containers, and also it will allocate the resources to containers. Okay, this is an important question for all who is preparing for like Docker interview. That runc is also, they will ask about runc. So runc is basically work as a allocating the resources. Okay, so Docker init, it is responsible to start and stop the Docker. It is basically different processes. One of the process is Docker daemon. Okay, so Docker server, in the first introduction part here, I will tell you that Docker server is nothing but that set of processes. One of the processes is Docker daemon. Okay, so I will complete it till here. So Docker host, I also completed that. Docker host, this portion is like a revision for you. Docker host, what is the Docker on the different operating system? So whatever the operating system you will using, that is the Docker host. So here you can see Mac or Windows, a Docker desktop is here. Linux virtual machine is automatically installed if Docker desktop is not running without Linux virtual machine. So Docker desktop is this one. It is used to access Docker host in your machine because okay, if write the Docker, okay, I will go the small implementation part here. So if I write if config, so here you can see if config is not recognized by internal command. Okay, so if this command is
Raj,
yes,
you have to wrap it fast. Time is less remaining.
Okay, I just wrap it in within 15 or 12, 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, so if you have any doubt, then ask immediately. So if config is config is the command which is used if config in the Linux operating system. Okay, so if config is done clearly, you see the clear output in the Linux operating system if you run the if config on that. But here the if config is not working, so a special command which is required to run here, that is docker run it rm privileged pid. Okay, it is a big command, so I just go don't take that much time to run it. Just I go it here and just paste it so that it will extract the command from here because the time is less. Okay, give me a second. This time I think it's not working.
Can we paste images in ChatGPT?
Yes, it is.
Till now, I don't know this.
Yes, docker run it rm // privileged. Okay, I think I have to spray the small this thing first. Docker run it /rm // privileged. I will try one time again. What the thing is done here? Give me a second. I think the internet connection is slow, too slow, so that because of that,
If
it
not
might.
working, then you can include this in your future presentation.
Okay,
So
okay.
because Vedant
But
is
yes,
right.
yes, he's waiting. I will try it. Give me a second, Vedant. I'll try to give me a second, firstly. So here, with the help of this, we can firstly small it. This time I will write firstly. So Docker run it / rm. Okay. Privileged. Okay. Privileged. If I am done any wrong things, like tell me again. Like I don't want to recheck again. So if you see I'm doing any mistake, so tell me. Nah, okay. And Sanctioner one. So all the things is right. Can anyone any syntax mistake or not here? So here,
No, any syntax mistake.
so here you can see the this operator and hash is there. So this means that you are connected to your host, that is the Linux operating system. If this time if you run get if config, so this command is working here, and this time you see that the output of these commands. So docker 0, which is running on your desktop. So basically 172.1.17.0.1, it is the default address. Every operating system which is running the docker is firstly interact with this address one. Okay, so I go in the main operating system, that is Linux one, with the help of this command, which I will mention it here, like Linux this, and with the help of this you can connect it, and if config will return like you are the host one and this are docker 0 are running in your desktop. With the help of docker 0 you are connected, okay, with this IP address like IP and ET. Okay, so here this will not result any output or run because your device is line read that text. I will explain also in previous time. So Docker images, it is a basically set of files which I tell you in previous one. So if you write like Docker images, the fourth command is Docker images. Whatever the images you have installed, the images are shown here. So firstly, if I have to write like firstly, I have to exit from this and Docker images. So this is not working. So just I write small I. So here you can see the Docker image, the details about Docker image and the commands. It is mentioned here. So give me a second. Docker images. So here Docker image will show that Docker image, how many commands are associated with Docker image. So these are the primary command is Docker image. If you want that build command, so write the Docker image build. So it will working as a build an image for Docker file. So here the list of Docker images present is BusyBox and Justin, Cork, Mac, and Centerone. So these are the commands. With the help of this, you can get to know the images present. With the help of these images, the Docker container is made one. Okay, so I just moving fastly that I tell you that with the help of a simple image like give me a second. So okay, so with the help of a Docker simple single image, we can make many containers, because in that containers we have make a file like text file, also like video file, and on that container, like I firstly get the Docker image and I make a container, and inside that container I associate a text file with the help of my for my use, and inside the second container the same image is associated. For that second person, the text is not their concern. Their concern is to get a video file, so it will associate with the second container. So container one and container two are entirely different. And what is container does, what's the main difference between the container images? Container make an extra layer upper side your Docker image, so that everyone which is using the container write the text or the any other things in upper your previous version. Okay, so these are the things. With the help of this command, Docker can run a container. So if I want to run it I want to run a simple container on your desktop, so just I write Docker. So it is I think my sixth or fifth command. So just write Docker run it BusyBox. Okay.
Raj, conclude your presentation fast.
Yes. Within like here you can see 7 minutes are left. Vedant, you will start in your next presentation, like in the next meeting, in the next Zoom session which I have created. After 6 minutes, you will start. Okay. So because the 6 minutes is left, after the meeting is end, and I will start a new meeting, then you can continue. Okay. So Docker run it BusyBox. With the help of this command, I will able to run, like here you can see the symbol. So with the help of this, you can get to know that Docker run it BusyBox is running. So just I write exit from here, and just I write Docker PS. So this time also you can see that Docker is empty. So if I want to run it fastly, like here also this is showing. So just I write D, because I with the help of D you can run it also this image like make a container and inside your like a background. Okay. So here the hash value is generated. This time I using Docker PS. So here you can see a container is created. In which image the container is based on. So image is BusyBox and command is sh. I created in 3 seconds. It will work in which duration? Like 2 seconds. If I run it again, the command. So this is showing at up to 20 seconds, because the time is moving up, and it the duration like it will running. Okay. So just I move in next presentation, like in the next slide. So with the help of Docker PS, I tell you that what is that done. Nothing is done. With the help of, you will run it in background. So Docker run dit, it will run in point. We use the BusyBox because we want the image of this. Like BusyBox is not installed in my desktop currently. Okay. The Docker, when I write the command, it will with the help API, with the API, it will go to the Docker daemon portion. After that, this the Docker daemon is searching for this image, and it will go to the Docker hub, where the images are associated, like public images are present. And after that, the Docker daemon fetches that image from the Docker hub, and after fetching, the Docker daemon make a container of that. Okay. So we We are on the 7th slide. We just move forward. So Docker ports, I will explain all the things. Like here you can see, again I repeating the same point. With the same image you can create a multiple containers. And what's the purpose of the making multiple containers? I tell you, like I have the work with other person, like I have to work with the image portion, like in a video portion, and the things are different. We also write inside the containers and modify it also. If the container Docker will make, like I tell you also, what is the specialty of the container. Container is based on writable layer in it. Here you can see. So we've just moved the forward. So here you can like Docker repository set of images with different tag is Docker. So I tell you that what is Docker repository. Docker repository is nothing but a versions of your image, set of different versions of your Docker image. So at every different version, like I am working on a image portion, completely like text file portion. So I just write the tag txt with the Docker container name, and as I associate a tag with it. Okay, with the help of tags, you will get to know what is the thing is done. So this is the bad practice. That this is the bad example. Actually, it is the same image. Like I am also working on that field, like database portion, and another person which is on my same project is also working on the database portion. Both are the same directory and everything is same. So why you use the other tags name? So this is the bad example for that. So here you can see in MySQL, 5.7 is this and latest. So here you can see the hash in the previous one. Why how you will get to know that these are two are the same? Because the hash value image ID is basically hash value. It is the same one. Like if you compare it, 895C3 D7, all the things are the same. So you will get to know that like the details are the same. If you remember in the git also, the thing is same. I have make a file and the hash is generated. If two hashes are matched, then the entire data within it are the same. So WordPress is the bad example. MySQL is a good example because the hash values are different in this case. This example is better. MySQL, all the things. So what is Docker registry? I tell you that Docker registry is nothing but your group of files, like where group of images are associated. Implement Docker Hub. Give me a second. I just fastly implement the Docker Hub portion also. 2 minutes are left. I wrap up in 2 minutes. After that, Vedant, you will start hub dot docker dot log. Okay, so just I write it there, Docker official page. So here you can see how Ubuntu is installed, and the like many things is here. Okay, I will go with the wrong portion. Firstly, I will click it here, so it will go in the right portion. So here you can see Docker Hub. What is the front end of Docker Hub? Here you can see databases, storage. So here you can see what is the busy box. Okay, so these are the public images which is present here. If I just write nginx, so like my main device is take the data. Actually, I will run it also. Like with the help of this, we will get the understand busybox and gix. Gin. What is the name of that? nginx. Okay. Okay. If the net is not working, so take a time. It will fetch. Like unable to find the images, but pulling the refreshed form, pulling FS layer, and after that the downloading is started. I think the net is too slow, so it will take a time. After that, the Docker container. After that, I am able to use the Docker container of it also. Okay, so just I move the forward for presentation because less than 1 minute are left. So that the storage. So what is Docker Hub? Where the services are present, registries, where local devices where the things are done. So like I want to go in the GitHub portion. I want to pull a repository in your local desktop. The same thing is done. You go on the Docker Hub and pull these things. So these are the basic commands which I will cover in the next presentation. These are the alternating command. I will come in the next presentation. Okay, I will explain all the things in next presentation. These are the basic commands. I will cover the entire command portion in. Give me a second. Give me a second, okay, guys. Okay. So my screen is visible to all. Firstly, tell me, am I audible? Am I audible? Vedant and Keshav, tell me.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So in my next presentation, I will tell you about the what is the basic what is the commands inside the Docker. Uh, inside the Docker. Okay. So I covered all the basic portion, like I tell the basics of all the components. So be prepared for the next presentation, because I will in the next, I don't tell about the basics. I tell from the Docker commands portion, the management commands and the Docker commands, alternative Docker commands and containers command. These are the examples like Docker run, Docker stop, Docker kill, rm, Docker ps. I tell you about this list of running containers, Docker ps/l. It contains the all the stored containers, Docker pull, Docker images. Docker rm is similar to Docker rm, like rmi is similar to rm. So all the things I will tell you about in next presentation. So be prepared. In next practice is done, and in next like commands is like whatever the basic commands I will cover it. So thank you all. If you have any doubt till this moment, you feel free to ask. Okay, within 1 to 2 minutes. Guys, any doubt? Okay, I think there's no doubt. So Vedant, you are ready to start. You are start your presentation.
So, Rudransh, have we started the recording? Rudransh, am I audible?
Yes, you are
Hello,
audible.
Rudransh.
Yes, audible.
You are
And
audible and your screen is also.
yes.
Okay. So, so in the last couple of sessions, we were discussing about object-oriented programming, and in the last session only, I switched up from object-oriented programming to callback functions. These call in previous session, I introduced about I talked about some function sequence control. So how does the sequence works, and what is the importance of function sequence when they come in control. So although I told all those things in my last session, but today also I can just revise up those things which I discussed about in the last session. So let's talk about what is a function sequence control. Actually, you people know about what is function sequence control if you watch my last session. Function sequence control, like we made up some four, one to two or three to four functions, and then we call those functions using when we call those functions sequentially in a sequence manner. So and it doesn't and it doesn't you can say, and it is not compulsory that we are calling those function in a simple sequence or in a sorted sequence. We can also call those sequence from the last order. Okay, so this is what the nature of this function sequence control. So, for example, likewise, I have called up some. I'm making some four functions, and I'm making some four functions over there: function one, function two, function three, and function four. So, without and I'm printing some you can say statements. I'm printing some hello statements over there. Hello one, hello first, hello second, hello third, and hello fourth. So then, if I'm what so the functions that I've created, for example, I created first function, second function, third function, and fourth function as well. So and then at the last part of my code, uh, I'm enclosing those three functions likewise. Function first, second, third. I'm calling up those first three functions. So while doing the console.log, in my output screen, these three functions will be coming as sequentially in a sequence manner or in a sequence order. For example, first, second, third, and like that, and likewise. So this is the importance of function sequence control. Okay, no problem. So the thing is, okay, I discussed about what are the basics of function sequence control. So no problem is there. But what I can do with function sequence control, if I'm applying some different methods, some different methodologies, that is more important to you. So if you're understanding the basics, so let's move with some advanced part. Likewise, uh, we use function sequence control normally. Okay, but we can also do it with callback function. We can also do it with the help of async await. So how we can, and also we can do it with promises. So in short, there are three ways with the help of which we can call up these three functions. Okay, for example, first if I talk about the callback function. So although I introduced about callback function in the last section also, and today also I'm also telling you about callback function, and in my next couple of sections with my I'm doing this all those things with my code. But I just wanted to give you a simple simple, you can say, recap of all those things, that those things should be clear in your the concept should be clear about. Okay, so likewise, what I was saying that if I'm doing with the help of callback function, okay, callback function I will be telling you with the help of my code. So not to waste time, let's move up with async await and promises. So async await and promises are two different functions. Okay, so at one phase we can also put up with we can also do the same thing respectively with the promises, and on the other hand we can also do it with async await. Okay, we can do it like that on. There's no problem over there. So how, but most important thing is that how we do it with promises, and what is the difference between doing it with async and await. So while doing doing promises, we write like we create a function of promise. Okay, promises. Then we return new promises, and then we are enclosing inside those functions. And there's one. So this is the syntax. Although as I'm telling you that in next session I will be bringing up those codes also. But I just wanted to give you an instance of what are all those things. That then we are enclosing with the help of resolve function, and then you can do it with same with second function, third function. You can copy with the same syntax, and you can even do it like that logically. So with the help of this, so this is the logic behind that, and the output you will be getting the same output. And if I talk about async await, so async, so we create a function of async, and in async we put up the function of await. We enclose the function of await. This normally. So it is a very normal syntax. So there is a one not. It is all a normal built. It is known as inbuilt sugar syntax. Okay, it is named as like that. So because it is very simple to execute, and because again all your output will be executed in the same manner. So let's move up with that what I brought up today. Uh, if I'm talking about JavaScript callbacks, so in the last session I discussed about function sequence. Today I'm discussing about function sequence with the help of callbacks. Or simply you can say that today I will be explaining you about callbacks and how the callback works. Okay, so first I'm creating a function of an employer. If it is visible to your, it's a very simple piece of code. First I'm creating a function of an employer. Then I'm passing up a simple parameter. Okay, and that parameter can be any parameter, any text you can pass up in those in that function. For example, I pass the text as vs to small v small s, and then in DOM I'm writing that vs. Then I'm creating one other function ctc, function of ctc and Vedant Shukla. Those I'm passing up the parameters, and then emp callback. This is my you can say this is my emp callback is my another emp callback is my another parameter. But just remember one thing in mind, that we are callback has importance. So we are not passing any parameter. We are passing a parameter of callback. Although so callback is it's itself a function, as I'm telling you about that only. So callback has its importance as well. EMP is simply a kind of a random parameter I'm passing it to it that I'm attaching with the callback. So it doesn't matter. You can also simply write it as callback only. There's no problem over there. Then I wrote like that, and LP is equals to then I took one variable. I'm storing it there. These two parameters, that Vedant and Shukla. So then EMP callback, as you can see, EMP callback is another. I'm calling because I want to call that function again. So I'm using this. That is the reason I passed up this three parameters. See, what see if you're creating any function and you want to in the second function, if you're creating any second function, and in that second function you have to if there are some random parameters that you have to use it in your code, in your piece of code, then it is very necessary and compulsory to pass up those parameters in that function only. So I'm passing EMP callback, and I'm putting up the value of LPA. Okay, I'm putting up the variable LPA, because in LPA I have stored the two values of Vedant and Shukla. So I'm adding a Vedant and Shukla and I'm calling it back. So then because I created a function of CTC, as you can see over there. So as I created a function of CTC, so the thing is I passed up some numeric values, 88,107 and 98,695. So okay, so 88,107 and 98,695. So you can consider it as this is a simple you can say this is a simple function of calculating the salary of an employer. Okay, so this is a simple function that calculates the salary of an employer. For example, so what I did, I simply created a function of an employer over there. Then I created one function CTC and Vedant Shukla. I passed the two parameters over there only. Then EMP callback is the parametric value over there. As I told you, the callback has its own importance. Then LPA and LPA, I'm storing the Vedant and Shukla both the value, both the parameters. And then EMP callback LPA, because this is the way to, this is common syntax to call a function. Then again in CTC, the second function that I created, I'm passing up the salaries of two employers. For example, salary of Vedant is 88,107 and Shukla is 98,695. Then employer is employer was the first function over there. So as employer was the first function over there. So as employer was the first function over there, so it is necessary to pass up that parameter inside the CTC. See, if you will not passing up that parameter, your screen will not work, or it will not work, or your output will be blank. Okay, so because employer is a function, employer is a parent function, and CTC is a child function. So, so CTC has its own importance and employer has its own importance. Because CTC is working in its parent function. So it is wasn't necessary to call up the employer function that is running the whole CTC function. Okay, that is more important to understand it like that. So if we call up that employer, and because I want to calculate the salary of an employer, and when I'm calculating it, it will be giving the result like 1,86,802. So that was the so you can see it in my output screen that is been getting printed over there. That is the required result that we want to print over there. So this is a simple calculator function, you can say like that, because here I'm calculating the salary of an employee, and then I'm storing up the values, and then I'm calling up the last, and last I'm again calling the values. If you remember the last section I introduced, as I was telling you about that a function sequence with type of async, await, callback, and promises. So all if you will applying async, await, and promises also, that is the main reason that I discussed earlier while starting up with my while explaining up before explaining up with my code, because if you're implying async of it, or if you're implying promises, the process of execution will always be similar. So you won't be getting any different process of execution in the code. Okay, so this is the importance. This is the important thing to remember about, or to uh, analyze about, that what is the most important thing, that is you can do it with async, await, or promises. Although I'm telling you about the next section also. So employee CTC, I'm calling the two functions, and you can add two values. So uh, so this is the similar code, as you can see, but in this but here so it is a similar code. While writing this code, nothing was, you can say, new, but if you compare up the codes, everything was getting same. So 1,86,602, again you will be getting the same, you can say, out same result or same output. Okay, so you can even run it on your editor, and you can practice up this code while writing at your editor, and you can check up the output out of the result that you are getting over there. Okay, so this is the important thing to understand about. So okay, so today okay, so in this slide, if you check up the if you check up in this slide, the so first so what are this slide tells you about, that uh, here I created a function of years, and I passed the again parametric value of duration, and then I created a function of onboard Vedant Shukla. So this function, say this is a function, is a similar function of this is also a similar function, but in this function, if you see, so if in this function, if you compare the code over there, so here you are what we were doing. Here what we were doing, we were calling, we pass up the parametric value of employer callback, and but here we didn't pass up that value of employer callback, and and then also the result was getting executed over there. So what is the difference in these two pieces of code? That while not passing up that parametric value of employer callback, because employer callback is, as I told you, it's a unique function, and it has its own importance value. Callback has it's a unique function and its own importance, and employer was this a random parametric value over there that I passed up there. So what happened over there, that uh, that see so what happened over there, I didn't pass up the employer callback and years of duration, but I am following up with the help of years. So years, and then I passed up that the similar, you can say, variable that I wanted to check the calculation. And then on board, because again this on board was the second function, second parent function, and I passed up the years of duration, that how one person has been working over there, and for how much longer time, so 2026 and 2022. So it is a simple calculator function that is calculating the difference of two values. So here I took up the situation like I want to create the I want to check that how one person and second person is value has been differing, or how two people, how the date of joining and duration, and how one is working on how the second is working, that what is the duration of first and second, and what is the difference between the working of two people. So it was getting the result as 4, because okay, but here I didn't pass up that parametric value or callback as simple. See, whole piece of code is same. Nothing got, you can say, the changement was not so uh, so the changement was not so large, but there was no lots of changements in the code, but simply I just removed this employer callback. But the thing is, and I just and I and I was implementing the things, and the result was getting, and the result that we were getting, it's as same. There's no difference in that. So then also the in both the cases your program got working, your program was working. So this is the beauty of JavaScript. But yes, the it is also telling of the function sequence without the callback function, and it is telling you the function sequence with the help of callback function. So this is the most important thing to so this is the most important thing to understand, that so this is that with you're passing the callback function, and it's not, you are not passing the callback function. But actually what happens, passing up with this callback function helps you to, so this is a very small piece of code. So but when you imply all these callback functions, for example, in larger in large scale or in the industry level, you have to imply callback function, because there the is code is also very large and all those things. So there you imply callback function. There's one more important thing to remember about that callback function. There's one more important thing to remember about that callback function is something that one situation is that is generated in the code, that callback function, that a callback hell. So callback hell was introduced that when any developer likewise introduces a callback in his code uh, in a very frequent manner. For example, if I'm creating a first function, I'm creating a second function, third function, fourth function, fifth function. And then again and again, I'm using the callback, 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 callback. So that callback function, because although the execution will, it doesn't matter, the output, the result that I wanted to execute, the process of execution is always will be same. There's no changement. But yes, that is also known as a callback hell, because because I'm because I'm just getting stuck with that callback function. So that callback function, to remove all those things, it has been introduced some new functions like promises also, and pressing a wait also. But yes, uh, there's one more function that is known as set timeout. What is the importance of set timeout? For example, if you want to call up a value. So, for example, if you want to call some, if you want to call any function over there, so you if you're using set timeout function, so set timeout function is another instant, another piece of function. In my session, I will be implementing you this. This is my code also, the set timeout. That what is the use of set timeout? That set timeout, so it helps you to execute, helps you to uh, that you removing this callback. But likewise, if you're implementing that set timeout function, you're passing a value like 1000. So 1000 is a, you can say it's a logic of initializing 1000. It's like that. After 1 second, it is converting like after 1 second of code. It is in the form of milliseconds. But after 1 second of code, you have to wait like 1 second, and then if you're passing at last a callback, using a last at callback, it will be giving you the frequently that value. So you do not have to use callback again and again. So that is the importance of set timeout function. So in the next session, I will be telling you about the set timeout function. So let's look up at new problem, debugging the code. Let's debug it. So let's debug this piece of code. So if you so it is asking you to find the output. So it is there's also here to here. So here the output is very, you can say it's a very simple output. If you people can guess it right now, I'm giving you some time of some seconds. You can guess it right now also. It's a very easier to guess up. So if anyone.
I think your audio is not clear. Can you please repeat the question?
No, I was saying that this if you are able to debug this the output of this program, it's a very simple program. So actually, um
I think the output of the third line is 52 in the
yes,
string. In the
yes, obviously, yes, Keshav, you're right. Your both the answers are right. That in the first you will be getting the result as 52, and in the second you will be getting the result as 3. So because, and the logic behind this is, it's very clear that is this. So although in the value that x is storing over there, it's a kind of a string, and the value that is y is storing, it's a numeric value. But what happens when you convert this? But in JavaScript, when we are adding these two values of x and y, the x will be, because x will be getting that logic, the because that we're gonna add two things, x and y. So it is a so it is also the concept of type conversion or type conversion is applied here. So what happens? A 5 is generally converted to a number from a string, and 2 is always a number as usual. No problem has been there, and the output will be getting, or the result that you will be getting over there will be 52, because as Keshav said, because what happens, 5 is converting, 5 is a simple string over there, but when it comes to the logic of implementing the sum, so the summation, it will be getting a 52, obviously, because 5 and 2 52. So yes, it is yes, but it is not getting a 7, because here the logic of concatenation of string has been applied over there. So although it will be not getting the output as 7, let me confirm this thing, that output will not be getting the 7, it will be getting the 52, because the concept of concatenation of string has been applied over there. So although it is converting, but yes, it will be converting like that, 50 and 5 and 2, that will be coming as 52. In the second one, x minus y, that is another statement that will be getting printed at 3 always. It is very simple, because concept of type conversion has been applied over there, and 5 is a numeric value, 5 is an integer string, it will be converted to integer, and 2 is, and 5 minus 2, because, and you will be getting the output that you will be getting as 3. So although although I'm just wrapping up with my session, so let's talk about some, if you have any question and answers, you can also ask me. So let's look up at this first question, that statically typed or dynamically typed, what kind of language JavaScript? So JavaScript is always a dynamically typed language, because in JavaScript, uh, see, what is the difference between dynamically typed and statically typed? Dynamically typed language is a language that allows you to that's it. Dynamically typed language is a language that allows us to uh, gives or it gives us the leniency that if you're not declaring a variables while writing a code, then also it won't be giving any error at the compilation phase. It checks up and it will be directly checks up at runtime, and we will be getting the same out. For example, if I'm taking up any variable, if I'm taking up any variable as x, so let x is equals to 10, and then I want to, or let x is equals to let x is equals to 10, and then I want to print that x, or in and so output will be coming as simply x, simply 10. And in the second statement, I'm taking the value as variable. Their variable, I'm taking up that value as hello world. I'm taking up the value as hello world. Okay, so hello world, like I want to print up that hello world, but I'm not declaring that hello world with the help of any data type for let const dot var. I'm not declaring that particular part. Then also I will be getting the output. So this is a dynamically typed language. It's a kind of a language that provides you the ease to you can say to write up to print any program or to print any output. So it is a very and many people say that dynamically typed JavaScript is a very easy language to understand. So that is the reason it is known as a dynamically typed language. So it doesn't have many, you can say, those traditional orthodox methods that you have to follow up. So you can cope up with JavaScript likewise. And statically typed languages are those languages that you have to where the explicit type conversions have been required. Okay, so this is the basic difference between dynamically typed and statistically typed language. So rest of the questions, if you see, I have discussed in my last session. So let's look up those questions again, because this is one of the important questions that has been asked in your most of the, you can say, in internship programs or in your interview programs. So that is and this is also known as a very basic kind of a questions. So you have to know these questions well. For example, if I talk about debugger, so let's devise these two questions again. So debugger, what is debugger in JavaScript? So debugger is a tool. It's a web tool in JavaScript. It's like Mozilla. It's a developer tool that helps the developer to find a sort of error at any piece of line. For example, if you're executing if you're writing any 10 lines of code, and in the second line also, if there is any error, it will allow you to check up that error at that point of time when you're writing the code, and it will help you to correct that error, and then you can use the and you can move forward. Okay, so and this is available in different kinds of browsers such as Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox, etc. What is prototype chain in JavaScript? It is related to object-oriented programming. So if you have watched my object-oriented programming lectures, I've told you about prototype chain. Prototype chain is a part of it's an inheritance program. Actually, when it is used in inheritance, as I've told you earlier, that in JavaScript we do not follow up the traditional inheritance concept. That here we use a prototypal inheritance. In traditional inheritance, that is it is related to classes. In here it is related to objects. Okay, so it's more than sufficient to understand. What is hoisting? Hoisting is always it's a concept. Hosting is a concept that understands the behavior of a JavaScript, or hosting is a concept that tells you the behavior of a JavaScript. Hosting always comes up with a compilation phase and not in the runtime phase. It checks up with the compilation phase. So if you know the difference between var and let, so hosting, it comes up with var and let. Okay, var and let keyword. That hosting, for example, it defines the scope of a, you can say, variable. For example, it is always said that it is you have to prioritize let rather than prioritizing where you are implementing any program. Why it is said that? Because var has been initialized with a special type of a variable. So always use let, because let is very, you can say, in modern JavaScript we always use let. Although let has one limitation, that you cannot declare it, or you can say it's a kind of a feature of that is programmers ask you to understand. So it is asked you to so developers ask you to use let, because let is also like that when you're, because it is not declared, so it does not give you that error that it will be declaring. So it provides that. So it just segregates that, you can say, confusion of writing some lines of code. So this is why we use let over var. But yes, so it is a part of an hoisting also. Hoisting is like that only, that it is defines you the scope. So uh, let comes you and under the so let comes under the, you can say, uh,